That is what you call a thriller. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm at a loss for words, which is not a good position to be in when you host a program, yet the Golden State Warriors have taken a commanding 3-1 series lead over the Houston Rockets, thanks to the man that the stupidity, better known as NBA awards voters, did not think the man should have been Defensive Player of the Year. That is why I call those people idiots. Draymond Green is one of the greatest defenders ever. He proved it yet again tonight. The Warriors take a commanding 3-1 series lead. Sophia Jones will join me in just a second to recap a crazy-ass game that goes in the Warriors' favor. Too close for comfort, but fortunately, it's a dub. Go Dubs. And this is the Golden Days.
They always find something to nitpick, and that's because there's expectations for us to win.
We are going to win the championship.
Let's go.
In a minute, I'ma need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up.
Great bitty witty, buddy, thank you. Oh my God, that's Anthony. Welcome to the Golden Days. Sophia Jones will join me in just a second. My name is Cyrus Saatsaz. You can follow me on Instagram and Threads at DogWild, over on Twitter at Surf Journalist. Folks, if you are a Warriors fan and you almost had a heart attack, you almost experienced a medical calamity because your body could not handle a game like this, I don't blame you. And it was insanely close. It was sketchy, but in a thriller. The Golden State Warriors are now just one win away from playing the winner of the T-Wolves and the Lakers in the Western Conference semifinals. A hell of a lot to unpack in a game that, again, was sketchy, close, could have gone either way. It came down to a Rockets possession. They had a chance to basically win this game, and Draymond Green wanted all the smoke. He welcomed it. He literally said, bring that shit to my house. I welcome it so I can slam the door on your face. That's how Draymond Green rolls. And the Golden State Warriors are up 3-1. Sophia Jones will join me in just a second. I am getting too old for this shit. I think if there's anything that's safe to say after a game like this, it's that. We've got some folks paying bills for this operation, and I want to give some love to them first and foremost. And I see Sophia Jones now in the green room. She'll join us in just a second. But for now, we got bills to pay. And up first again is Decades Official, a band that if we were at a Warriors Game 4 watch party, this band Decades would be rocking and rolling right now. I check out their music on their YouTube channel routinely just because they actually are damn good at what they do. If you're a full-time musician, meaning your bills are paid for because of the music you play, you're doing something right. And that's exactly what's going on with Decades, a band that plays everything from the 50s to today, Chuck Berry to Katy Perry. No matter what the music is, they're going to play it for you. And just like the Catalina wine mixer, you're going to have the time of your life. It doesn't matter what kind of event you need music for. It could be like a fundraiser. It could be a birthday party. It could be an anniversary. It could be a company event. It could be a wedding. Could just be a good old-fashioned backyard rager. Whatever is going on that you need live music for, go to decadesofficial.com or contact Kyle at atomicmusicgroup.com. Again, Kyle at atomicmusicgroup.com. Tell him your Uncle Si. Tell him Golden Days. Tell him Sophia Jones. Tell him Rick Barry. Just mention anything to do with this program. You'll get a discount. And look, they're locals. If you're looking for a local flavor, they're straight out of Chico, California. They're Warriors fans. They're Golden Dazers. They're also Niners fans. They even played a private event for Eddie DeBartolo, the man who oversaw 5 Super Bowls for the 49ers. in his pad in Montana. They went out there and played a set for Eddie D. They also play sets for every pregame of a home Niners clash right next door to Levi Stadium at Great America. Decades is the official band for every Red Zone rally, and they can be hired for your event. Decadesofficial.com. Go check it out and thank me later. Today's episode also brought to you by Visit Humboldt. I feel like after a game like that, Humboldt will be nice to just decompress, to just relax, to just basically say, I need a timeout. I need to take a breath here. I'm losing my mind. I need stress to go down. I need mental and physical health to go up. That's when you go to Humboldt. It is beautiful. It's paradise. If you're a Californian living in Northern California, it's a short and easy 3 to 4 hour drive. And it's a beautiful drive. It's not like going down to Southern California where the I-5 is just hours upon hours of what constitutes to some a wasteland. You're driving to Northern California. The last hour of the drive, you're just surrounded by what they literally call the Avenue of the Giants. Just huge old growth redwoods and sequoias surrounding you. You've got beaches just down the street. You've got a national park, state parks, breweries, wineries, incredible dining establishments that you can visit. It's an amazing scene. And you can always DM me if you don't want to go to visithumboldt.com to find a place to stay or things to do. Shoot me a DM. I used to call the place home. I was a student at Humboldt State University that they now call Cal Poly Humboldt. I lived in Arcata, California for 2 years. I can be your guide. I still go up there at least once a year because of how much I love the area. Visit Humboldt.com. Go check it out and thank me later. And also go check out Sophia Jones. Let's bring her in the house. There she is. You can follow her on Twitter at Sophia Jones _2. I had some people, Sophia, following game 3 tell me that they saw you sitting courtside with a friend. I'm going to guess you played the game tonight, given I see the backdrop is downtown San Francisco. Sophia, great to see you. And your immediate reaction to a thriller of a game. That was too close for comfort. We could talk about maybe reasons why it shouldn't have been that close, but a win's a win. In the postseason, you take them how you can get them. The Warriors now have 3 wins in the postseason, 3 down, 13 to go. Final score 109-106. Again, great to see you, Sophia. How the hell are you doing? And your reaction to the Golden State Warriors taking a 3-1 series lead over the Rockets.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Like you said, didn't go to this game, but I wasn't courtside last game. I was just down on the court pregame.
Oh, okay.
I was up in the stands watching. Just
gotcha. I was gonna say, I'm like,
spectator.
damn, like I don't think I've ever sat courtside for a whole game, so I don't know what that experience is like. But I was gonna give you your props, your due, because that's cheers to anyone who could pull that off. I have nothing but respect for it. But anyway, sorry to interrupt you. But
No, but immediate reaction is I am just thrilled that the Warriors pulled that game off. It was looking a little spooky for a second when Draymond was in foul trouble and Şengün was just going off, and Fred VanVleet decided that he didn't want to miss a 3-pointer this game. I think when he shot that last heave, to me, I thought it almost went in for a second. It just looked like it was directly online. I was clutching my pearls. But
well, it looked right. The direction, I think, was right. It was short. Is that what you saw as well? I think that's what happened. I don't know.
Yeah, it was right on line, just short. But I saw the net move, and I was like, oh no. But the Warriors pulled it off. Jimmy was so clutch, battling through where you could clearly tell he was a little labored still, coming back from his injury. Draymond, despite being in that foul trouble, came up with that huge defensive possession at the end of the game against Şengün. Just a great one-on-one defensive play, contesting the shot. And yeah, just poetic how it finished.
Oh, and I started the show in the cold open by discussing that final play. I think it was Houston's second to last possession. They give the ball to Alperen Şengün. That is their go-to guy here. And Draymond Green wanted all the smoke. He was in foul trouble for a lot of this game. There's a lot to unpack, and Draymond's a huge part of it because he got in the second quarter. I think he committed 4 fouls and a technical. And I don't know if it was all his fault. I don't think the officials deserve any flowers for this game tonight, but Draymond Green is a whole other story. He wanted that smoke. The fact that he welcomes a matchup defensively where so much is out of your control. I mean, Şengün still got the shot off. That could have gone in, right? I mean, there's no way Draymond Green could play perfect defense and do no wrong, and that ball can still find a way to get into the bucket. So with all that, despite the unpredictability of the scenario, despite the chaos of that moment, he welcomed it. He wanted it. And it's why in the cold open, I mocked the NBA's voters, at least a lot of them, because Draymond Green not getting a second Defensive Player of the Year award, to me, was criminal. And this was another reason why. How do you not give this man Defensive Player of the Year? I know the postseason is not a part of it, but if you have half a brain, you would know that this could happen again. You've seen him do this before. And it's just a crime to me. It's egregious that he did not get a second Defensive Player of the Year award. But in your opinion, Sophia, break that play down, because for folks who did not watch this game or who are unfamiliar with what we're talking about here, Warriors are leading by 1. Houston has the ball. They feed Şengün. There's seconds remaining on the clock. Take it away, Sophia. From your perspective, what did you see happen that resulted in the Warriors getting possession? Jimmy Butler got fouled and put the game away. Your reaction to that massively huge defensive stand?
So I believe originally they inbounded the ball to Fred VanVleet, which he was a major threat as well. However,
Yes.
he's not as skilled in creating his own shot, just one-on-one as Şengün. So they got the ball to Şengün at the top of the key. They spread the floor out to just let him go one-on-one. He then tried to just walk Draymond down, then go back-to-back, use his footwork. Did that hook shot, but Draymond, he had great verticality, was right there contesting the shot as straight as you could be. And then, like you mentioned, Jimmy just soaring in to grab that rebound. Another huge thing, because the Rockets were so strong offensive rebounding. You have Steven Adams down there, that giant just sucking up everything as well. So Jimmy grabbing that, and that was the right person to get that rebound as well, because he went down the other end of the floor and knocked down both free throws.
And as good of a defensive stand as that was from Draymond Green, when we talk about the player of the game, following game 3, our player of the game was Stephen Curry, and we had that one sponsored by Decades. I'm alternating back and forth. So tonight, our player of the game is going to be brought to you by Visit Humboldt.com. And I don't know how you cannot give the award to Jimmy Butler. I know Brandin Podziemski definitely had his moments. Podziemski 6 of 11 shooting from 3. And some of those were timely and huge. He was matching Fred VanVleet's 3-pointers every time. You got the sense, the feeling that the Rockets were going to seize momentum. Podziemski's 3s were a huge reason why those were squashed. But Jimmy Butler, I mean, you could see him hurting. You could see the booty injury affecting him. You saw him grab his hips late in the game, the back area, the lower back more specifically. And he misses game 3. He comes back tonight. 39 minutes, 59 seconds of play, 7 of 12 from the field, 1 of 2 shooting from beyond the arc. And I remember that 1 3-pointer he made, too. He got challenged, put it up, and he drained it. 12 of 12 from the free throw line. And the reliability of him on the free throw line, immeasurable in terms of how valuable that is. But Jimmy Butler tonight, 27 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds. Again, a perfect 12 of 12 from the free throw line. And when you win a game by 3 points total, that clearly makes a difference. Your reaction to Jimmy Buckets, playoff Jimmy, you're particularly familiar with his game, given your background. I mean, you know Jimmy, you know how incredible he can be. Tonight, he was the version that everyone hoped would show up for the Golden State Warriors. I don't think there's a chance in hell they win this game without him. Your reaction to Mr. Jimmy Butler having a hell of a game. He's our player of the game tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about all the offensive numbers, but it's also a lot of the work that he did defensively as well. Again, when Draymond was out with some of that foul trouble, he was the one that a lot of times either got the switch onto Şengün or was having to guard Steven Adams as well, which is not an easy assignment at all, especially when you're a smaller player going up against those tall centers. So just on both ends of the court and his offensive production from a scoring standpoint, but also his creating ability as well. The Warriors at certain times almost looked like they struggled against the zone that the Rockets were putting, but Jimmy was just able to kind of orchestrate and get the ball moving and pick apart that caused them to get out of that zone as well. So he definitely, I would agree with you, as player of the game.
Oh, it was what a performance. Have you ever had a tailbone injury? I mean, I've shared with the audience already that I've broken my coccyx once. I know how painful of an injury that is. It's a pain threshold situation mostly where you just have to deal with how badly that hurts, but there's no long-term ramifications. He's going to get better by the day. Have you ever experienced anything like that?
I have not, but just like you said, it's something that I've heard reported about Jimmy is something that he just has to deal with. And just the fact that the Warriors won this game gives them a lot of cushion and hopefully more time for Jimmy to get better.
Exactly. This was look, no one knew what was going to happen until the very end. And there were a lot of moments that were very sketchy in terms of how this game was going to turn out. There were quite a few moments where I personally was not feeling great about this. But Draymond Green, I want to shift focus to him for a second because he had the defensive stop. But this game was, first of all, it dragged. I think the game started officially at 7 p.m. Pacific time. We're now starting the show. We've been on the air for how long now? 16 minutes. So we started right at 9:57 p.m. Normally, NBA games don't push 3 hours. There were a lot of stoppages tonight. The refs did a lot of reviewing. And the second quarter was an absolute shit show. Apologies for the crass language there, but I don't know if there's a better way to describe it. And Draymond Green was in the middle of the fracas. He was weirdly got a technical and then got a flagrant just a few moments after that, which I think the refs did that by design so he wouldn't get kicked out of the game. But he got 4 fouls in the second quarter. I can't remember if he picked up his 5th foul in that quarter or if he picked up the 5th one in the third quarter. But the foul trouble forced him to come out of the game. And when he came out of the game, we saw Trayce Jackson-Davis get a run. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, please. What do you think about all that?
No, I saw him. I was like, wow, that is a sight we haven't seen in a minute. So that was definitely surprising.
Yeah, me too. And that's and this was Kerr again dipping deep into his bag because the Houston Rockets are huge. And I thought Steven Adams tonight played a fantastic game of basketball for the Rockets. Some nights you look at net rating and you think to yourself, it makes no damn sense. It's one stat of many, and it's not objective. You try to read into it and see if there's value in that number, and oftentimes there's not. Like tonight, for example, I don't know if Amen Thompson should have been a -17. He was a game worst on both sides in terms of net rating, but I thought Amen Thompson had his best game of the whole series, and he had 17 points, 9 rebounds. He almost was the difference in the Rockets winning this game. Steven Adams, however, net rating, I think, does reflect how he played. He was a +16, which led the Rockets. But other than that, the stat sheet doesn't show a lot. But I thought he was playing some great ball. He was causing a lot of issues for the Warriors. And the Rockets' size is no secret. It's been causing issues for this entire series, 4 games in. And so Draymond getting in foul trouble like that added some concern. Quinton Post, again, I don't know what the finished product is going to be. I don't know if he's going to be someone who eventually bulks up and becomes a better rebounder, but he's getting pushed around. He's getting abused by this Rockets front court frequently. So Trayce Jackson-Davis makes an appearance, plays, I think, 5 minutes and change in this one. Box score shows Trayce Jackson-Davis 5 minutes, 40 seconds on the night. So we had to see him. We had to see again, Quinton Post playing 19 minutes, 42 seconds. I thought he had a great game. What was going through your mind, Sophia, when you saw Draymond Green get into that foul trouble? And in your words, describe just the madness of that second quarter, which saw, again, a technical, a flagrant. You saw Dillon Brooks trying to swat the ball out of Stephen Curry's hand as he's getting picked up, which caused a lot of issues. You saw Jimmy Butler calling Dillon Brooks a bum. And I could read some of the words there. Anyways, your reaction, just take it away, because there was so much going on in terms of fouls and technicals and Draymond getting in trouble. What was your reaction to all that chaos? Because there was a lot of it.
Yeah, it was really weird, just like how you said. It was very drawn out. And I think the first instance of kind of a little bit of a skirmish happening was that when Draymond was picking up Steph, and then Dillon Brooks got in there, and then people kind of went back and forth. I was actually surprised that I think it was Quentin Post and Jabari Smith. They were kind of going at it a little bit. I'm surprised that they came away unscathed. I did not agree with them assessing a technical to Stephen Curry. They think they said taunting because he put up the 2 to Dillon Brooks, saying it's his second foul. I think that's kind of just whatever. I mean, it kind of is taunting, but it's the playoffs. What do you expect? I want to just keep your mouth shut. I don't think that Draymond deserved that technical, because he was just trying to break everything up mostly. And then for that second instance, like you mentioned, between Draymond and then Tari Eason, I agree with you where I don't think that it was necessarily a flagrant foul. His leg was kind of just flailing because he was rolling. But in retrospect, it kind of helped him, because by not giving him another technical, he was able to stay in the game. So I think the refs just felt like they had to give him something, but they didn't want to get that backlash of having him ejected, in which case, I guess, thanks. Yeah. But yeah, it felt extremely broken up, which in that second quarter also is when the Rockets felt like they had a little bit of momentum and stuff rolling. So it ended up benefiting the Warriors in that scenario. So it was just, it was hard for either team to really get into a rhythm with all that going on.
Impossible. Yeah, I don't think there was any. I mean, we heard Reggie Miller use the word flow a lot in tonight's broadcast, and a lot of it was in regards to the referees just stopping action left and right, the players getting into it a lot. We're going to talk about the starting lineup and the Kuminga DNP in just a second, just because it is in the chat. There's people wanting to talk about it. I've made my position clear last show in regards to Kaminga, Kerr, and this whole talking point. At this stage of the season, when you're in the postseason, and this is just my opinion, you don't nitpick about minutes. You don't nitpick about player development. At this stage in the game, it's just about winning, right? It's just you're trying to win 16 games. That's how you get the title. To get through the first 3 rounds, all you need is a 12-9 record, and you'll survive and you'll move on. But with that said, in a game like tonight, where it was insanely close, there were a lot of moments where the Warriors, I feel like, could have used some easy offense, which is what Kaminga brings to the table a lot. I was very surprised to see a DNP from him. I was a little surprised as well to see Butler-Hield starting in place of Moses Moody, another player who had his role diminished considerably in this game tonight. With all that said, I do understand if people were frustrated by the Kaminga DNP tonight. Case in point, the rebounding numbers. The Warriors got slaughtered on the glass. Kaminga starts last game. They win the rebounding battle, or at least it was very close. They did win the points in the paint battle last game. They did get a win last game with Kaminga starting. This game was very close. They did win without him as well. So this is going to be a debate that will not go away anytime soon. But the rebounding edge, Houston wins the rebounding battle tonight, 41-34. They win the points in the paint battle tonight of 48-28. I do believe that if Kaminga plays, it's not this close. And look, we can agree to disagree. There's no way my point can be proven or otherwise, but I do understand the frustration of the DNPs. At the same time, clearly, Steve Kerr just does not think that Kaminga and Jimmy Butler work well together. And we can agree to disagree on that among many things. Like, I don't agree with that at all, but it's the reality of the situation. Kerr's in charge. This is what we're rolling with. Kaminga gets a DNP tonight. Moses Moody, who is, I thought had become the starter, was not the starter tonight. He plays 11 minutes, 41 seconds. But Sophia, what were you thinking when you saw the starting lineup tonight and noticed that Kaminga was out? Because the moment I saw that, I'd given up any hope he was going to play. From my perspective, it was, oh, we're back to the DNP thing. Him and Jimmy Butler are just not going to play together. And I think that's going to bite the Warriors in the ass at some point. I hope I'm wrong on that. If Kerr continues this rotational decision, what is your take on Kaminga getting a DNP tonight? Because that will be a talking point, and it does stick out, I think.
Yeah, for me, I just feel like at this point, with all of this discourse surrounded around Kaminga and his DNPs playing, not playing, all that, where pretty much everything that he's doing right now is being scrutinized, having him in not even starter position, but just like a heavy minutes position, and kind of putting him like right now, I just think it's more so setting him up for failure. In that first game this series that we saw him in game 2, I believe, where we weren't expecting him, but he was in there. It was just one of those things where you put this kid through so much, and it's just, what do you expect from him now? That's kind of my whole take on it. If this game happened a month ago when the Warriors had their lineups and rotations solid and Kaminga, he was in that same flow, then I would be like, of course, let's play Kaminga. But because of the current situation that they're in right now, I just don't even know if he would help that much at this stage.
Yeah, and look, he did play. He started in game 3 and they won. So it's not, I don't see how you can use the argument that he's going to hurt things if he plays. I also did say, New Jersey in the chat writes that I did say without Kaminga that the Warriors weren't going to win this series. We'll never know what the answer to that is because Kaminga has played. They did win, and they now have a 3-1 series lead. But at the same time, they could have easily lost this game. Let's not pretend like this game was in the bag because Kaminga did not play. I mean, they escaped tonight with the win. I'm not gonna buy rhetoric that says this team is better without Kaminga. There's no chance in hell I can support that. At the same time, it's like I said, it's the postseason. You do what you got to do to win each of these games. This is not the time to make arguments or take stands about a player's role. At this stage in the game, you're just trying to win. And this offseason is going to be very interesting, probably. Some people are already talking about, for example, and again, I'll bring this up right now only because the Milwaukee Bucks are on the verge of getting eliminated. And it does make perfect sense in a hypothetical scenario where the Warriors maybe get bounced earlier than they hoped this postseason, and Giannis wants out of the Bucks. You could, in theory, come up with a pretty damn good trade package to get Giannis to the Warriors this offseason. And we'll briefly touch on this for a second, just because I know it's on so many people's minds. I don't know if you've thought about this, Sophia, but let's say the Warriors get to the Western Conference Finals. All right. And I bring up the Western Conference Finals because to me, if the Warriors lose before then, I don't think this is even a discussion. I mean, wherever Giannis will go next, it's going to have to be a title contender. It's going to have to be a team that's serious. And if the Warriors get bounced, let's say hypothetically the Rockets come back from 3-1 deficit, or let's say the Warriors win this series as expected, and then the Minnesota Timberwolves just beat the shit out of them next round, right? I don't know if the Warriors are going to be the ideal destination for Giannis Antetokounmpo when there are other teams out there who probably are going to be selling themselves with a better proposal, right? Like younger teams, deeper teams. Whatever trade the Warriors would have to do, you're completely decimating your roster, right? You'd have to sign and trade Kaminga. You're adding Moses Moody to the mix. You're adding Podziemski. You're adding almost everybody, mainly to make the salaries work, right? And also to entice the Bucks to agree to a trade like that. And then you just surround a package of Steph, Draymond, Giannis, and Jimmy Butler with a whole bunch of rookies and a whole bunch of veteran minimums. it's doable. Is it likely? I have no clue. We're going to find out this offseason, but it's doable. And the idea of it does sound interesting in terms of one final run for this group in the offseason. With all that said, do you have any thoughts on the idea of maybe if the postseason does not go as planned for the Warriors, that they maybe pursue Giannis Antetokounmpo? Because it is a realistic dream, but it is also a dream.
Yeah, ever since there were a couple All-Stars ago when I saw Steph and Giannis seem to have loved playing with each other, I have always thought about how awesome it would be for Giannis to be on the Warriors. And so I could potentially see this happening. It would be unfortunate for Milwaukee also, just with Damian Lillard just tearing his Achilles. That's terrible after he fought so hard to get back. But Giannis, he won a championship. He's won MVPs. He's won final MVPs. He's know what it's like to be at the top, and he has had a couple of down years on the Bucks, and so he could 100% be ready to get out and get something new and fresh started. I always felt like Giannis could even thrive and get the exposure he deserves in a bigger market city as well.
Again, it's incredible how much assholery, pardon me for the French again, but it's incredible how much nastiness, how much negativity comes out if, God forbid, I say nice things about Jonathan Kaminga. Like, case in point, I don't know who this person is. I've already had to block 3 people because you're name calling. I don't care if you have a different opinion. Don't resort to name calling, all right? If you hate Kaminga, you're an asshole. That's my opinion. This is my show. I'm allowed to say that. And if you want to call me a name back, you're out. Plain and simple. Don't be a distraction. Don't be a prick. And again, just because I endorse a Warriors player does not make me the bad person. You hating on that person for reasons other than, I don't even know what your reasons are. Do not pretend you're the good person here because you're hating on a kid who was a high draft pick by the Golden State Warriors. I also want to really quickly mention that I'm not going to block you. Like, for example, Rello says, I'm back. No Kaminga, no problem, Jimmy Buckets. You were never, Rello, you were never blocked because you did not like Kaminga. You were blocked because you were in this chat the other night promoting another show and telling people to go there. That will get you blocked in 2 seconds, all right? This is a business. Do not promote the competition in our chat. That should go without saying, but I just want you to know, Rello, don't think it was because you had a differing opinion. I don't mind that, but stop with the name calling. That will not be accepted no matter what. And again, F2P, it's only because there is just people, a few just morons. I will call them that, morons, who unnecessarily hate Kaminga. The guy didn't even play tonight, and if I bring up his name, they immediately just lose their shit. I don't understand that. And yes, Lon the Third, don't disrespect anybody on the show. That includes my co-host as well. But yeah, look, I don't know what to say. I didn't say the Warriors won in Game 3 because of Kaminga, but he did start and they did win. That's a fact. If you don't like that, I don't know what else to tell you. And yeah, A-Rod, you're right. We'll move on. But again, it is a distraction. That's why the block button is used. Just be respectful. Do not use name calling. I don't think that's asking for too much. All right, and don't promote the competition either. And ATGYY, you're right. Kaminga did lock down Jalen Green in the last game. But with all that said, he's out at the moment, and we'll see what happens. Sophia, do you think Kaminga will come back? Like, is he done for this series as long as Jimmy Butler is playing? Is he done for the entire postseason? This whole thing is crazy. So, what do you think?
It's hard for me to rule him out just completely. I mean, we saw Trace Jackson Davis minutes tonight. It was only 5.5 of them, but we did see them. So, and a consistent theme throughout this series as well has been a lot of bench players and just some of the people that aren't the Steph Curry or Jimmy Butler stepping up. This game, we saw Podziemski and Butler-Hield and had a lot of big shots. Last game, it was Gary Payton, who's kind of the unsung hero, and Quentin Post as well, just with his rebounding. So I can definitely see a situation where Jonathan Kaminga does come back at some point, I'll just say this postseason, he's just definitely going to have to accept whatever role and job Steve Kerr has him do. It might not be to score or play as much ISO ball, but just whatever, if that's going to be defense like he did, he played really good defense on Jalen Green the other game. If it's that, then he's just going to have to accept that. And when he does that, I think he's really good and really strong and definitely does help the team.
You know, I feel for the kid. Do you?
I definitely do. It's not, especially when you consider how the entire course of the season and where there are a lot of highs where he was getting good minutes. He was kind of the second go-to guy, honestly. And then some of the lows, and then with his injury and then coming back, and it seemed like he was in the rotation and the flow, but then start to get these DNPs. So you have to be understanding of the situation 100%.
It's crazy to me. I feel like if you have a conscience, I don't know how you can watch all this and just not have feelings. You know, I don't know how you can not have empathy for him. Yeah, but regardless, you know, what are you going to do? And again, last game, he did not even put up a 3-point attempt. And I think that was clearly aimed at making his coach happy. In game 2, when he played, he shot 40% from 3. So, you know, and he's not a horrible 3-point shooter. I just don't get it. I really don't get it. This is just the head coach who just doesn't like him. And, you know, and I don't think it's personal. But, you know, he doesn't think he fits. And it's just, that's just crazy. Anyways, but the Warriors did win tonight, and that was a huge win. Butler-Hield has, in a matter of 2 games, and this is where, like, for everything about Kaminga, where people are feeling bad or they feel great and they're happy. And again, if you actually are happy about the way Kerr's treating them, what does that say about you, right? I just feel like certain events in this world expose the nastiest human beings on the planet, and it is revealing who the people are. Like case in point, for example, on social media, like if the trolls come out, you get this army of Kaminga haters. I feel like they're almost all individuals with no profile photo. They have like 2 followers. It's just trolls, but there's a lot of them. There's enough of them where like unfortunately they do distract and they do force you to at least give them some attention for a moment. But if you think he sucks, we'll just have to agree to disagree. But don't come in the chat and do name calling or any of that crap. Not okay. Yeah, and Bruce Morrow, you're right. Social media exposes the absolute worst in people. Wholeheartedly agree. So, and by the way, Warriors 49ers, yeah, you must have missed the beginning of the show. We did talk about Podziemski right away, saying his 3-point shooting matched Fred VanVleet's 3-point shooting and basically stemmed the momentum of the Rockets every time they started to get a run by that. We'll cover him a little more. But I want to talk about Butler-Hield for a second here, because Buddy had an awesome night. He had an awesome game last game, shooting-wise. And tonight the shooting wasn't as good, but it was like he picked it up. Like, and case in point, Butler-Hield finishes the game 3 of 9 shooting from deep. But you look at his shooting through the first 3 quarters, and again, I haven't looked at any of these numbers, but I know I remember seeing his numbers early. Yes, the first half he was 0 of 3 shooting from deep. At the end of the first half, he had 2 points. So he didn't start the game well. And then in the third quarter is when he started to really light it up. In the third quarter, he had 10 points. He was 2 of 4 shooting from beyond the arc. And Butler-Hield finishes the game superbly. Played 30 minutes, 18 seconds, 15 points, tied for the team lead in net rating. I think last game he was 2nd or 3rd in net rating. So when he's out there, winning basketball is being conducted. I don't know what to make of this. But he's starting now. What are your thoughts on Butler-Hield? It's insane.
Yeah, just this is a part of the Butler-Hield experience where sometimes, I mean, he's always going to shoot. He's always going to put shots up, and you just hope that this is a game that a lot of them go in. And this is kind of one of those. I felt like you mentioned he didn't start the game awful, but I thought he did an exceptional job setting the tone defensively, which is something that really happens. But he got 2 quick steals. One of them was definitely a part due to Draymond Green trapping, but he got 2 steals and which converted to fast break points. And I thought that kind of just really helped set the tone for the whole game. I mean, that's when the Warriors, they got I think about a 10-point lead at that point. The Rockets came back, but just having that little bit of a starter, especially I think they were steals against Jalen Green, where that's a player that you don't want to see get going because he's extremely streaky. So to kind of take that and create those turnovers against him specifically early, it really helped them just quiet him for the whole game. But he just had some huge shots in the second half that were extremely timely, and then against that zone as well. That's how you get defenses to get out of a zone, is when you shoot them out of it. And he was a great floor spacer in those situations.
He was incredible. But you know, $1.99 from Let the Jet Fly. And I like this post a lot, because Let the Jet Fly writes that Butler-Hield listens to everything Jimmy Butler says. And those two have developed an immediate chemistry. And that chemistry is mostly Jimmy Butler just talking a lot of shit to Buddy, but it's hilarious. And Butler, I'm sorry, Buddy takes it, gives it back. You saw the Instagram post 2 nights ago when Jimmy Butler missed game 3. And after the game, did the whole Batman post, and at the bottom he wrote something about Buddy. I forgot what he wrote, but he goes, with the exception of Butler-Hield, I think. What those two are doing back and forth is comedy. It's entertaining. But what Let the Jet Fly writes is Butler-Hield listens to everything Jimmy Butler says, and he's defending now. And I don't disagree with that. I apologies if you mentioned this already. I think you did. That Butler-Hield had 2 steals in this game. And I think the defense has taken a shift where he's not the liability he was. I know this is a game by game thing. I feel like there's so many players on this team where you can give all this analysis, you can give all these opinions about the individual, and then the very next game you throw those away and GP2 is an example of that. We'll talk about him in just a second, but Butler-Hield did play great defense tonight. Butler-Hield I thought was fantastic overall. It's wild. Do you think we're going to see this consistently, Sophia? Because if we do, game changer, total game changer. If this is something he could do on a night by night basis, what do you expect?
I don't know what to expect. I hope he continue this. I don't even want to say anything or put anything out there and jinx it. But I mean, just the comment about him listening to Jimmy and kind of the relationship that they have. I didn't hear what was said, but even on the TNT broadcast post-game, when Jimmy Butler was doing the post-game interview, Buddy tried to crash it a little bit, and I think they were kind of just joking, going back and forth again. So that's definitely an extremely beneficial relationship to have, and the fact that Buddy has just been listening to Jimmy. I mean, he did seem to dribble the ball a little less, like the comment says there. He did tell Buddy to dribble the ball a little bit less in this game, and I think that kind of worked.
It did. And you're seeing less ball handling. He's playing smart basketball. He's attacking. Let me look at his turnover numbers. 0 turnovers. He's playing good basketball. He had 3 assists, 4 rebounds in this game. And again, he started the game 0 of 3 in the first half, shooting from deep, comes back and shoots 50% from deep in the second half, goes 3 for 6. It just fantastic. I don't know how else to spin that. Kurt Porter in the chat real fast is asking what my take is on Denny Avdia of the Portland Trailblazers. Look, my brain is not at a place right now where I'm thinking about what the Warriors can get for Jonathan Kaminga this offseason. I brought up Giannis Antetokounmpo largely because this is going to be a talking point. The Milwaukee Bucks are going to get bounced from the postseason any day now. And when that happens, people are going to be talking a lot about Giannis in this point of the season, which is still the first round of the playoffs. But that's going to be a talking point because Giannis will probably, especially with Dame Lillard being out for all of next season, his time in Milwaukee is probably done. I was saying last offseason that he should have been asking out then. And I was kind of hoping for the Warriors to make a move last offseason, but Milwaukee, being stubborn as they were like, no, we want to give it another year. And they never had a shot. So we shall see. I do think, again, if the situation is the Warriors getting deep, but just not quite there, meaning if they make it to the Western Conference Finals, for example, and they push OKC to 6 or 7, or if they make it to the NBA Finals and they push Boston to 6 or 7, but they don't follow through, I do think the Warriors at that point could be a team in the discussion for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Because again, wherever Giannis goes, he's going to want to go to a contender. He's going to want to go to a team that is not mirroring the situation in Milwaukee. And if the Warriors are bounced early, like this round or next, Giannis is going to look at that and go, me by myself is not going to make that a championship situation. But if he sees the Warriors go deep and he thinks to himself, wow, all they need is me, then I could see that maybe happening. And then you also have, other pieces like a Jonathan Kaminga who you can sign and trade. You have Moses Moody's $13 million. You have Brandin Podziemski's contract. Now you can start coming up with some deals here to get Giannis back. That actually does become a realistic thing. Anybody besides Giannis, I'm checked out. Like Denny Avdija, fine player. And just from an initial thought, yeah, I could see him fitting with the Warriors, and he was putting up some great numbers this season with the Trailblazers. But with that said, again, I haven't put much thought into it. Like I haven't not done my research at this point, so I can sit here and tell you, well, not a bad idea, but you could actually get this for Kaminga, or you could get this for Kaminga. Like I got to do some research on that. But any reaction from you, Sophia, on this topic?
Yeah, my brain isn't there yet. I mean,
Same.
Warriors are up 3-1 right now in the first round, a 7 seed against a 2 seed. Even if the 2 seed is the Rockets, there's a lot of things that could still happen. So
Yeah.
I'm not prepared. I don't want to, hopefully we don't have to talk about off-season stuff for like another month.
Agreed. Let's hope this is just a moot point. That's what I'm hoping, because if the Warriors win the championship, it's 1,000% a moot point. You're just literally building on what you have at that point. You're not making big swings then, but yeah, so we shall see what happens. And then June Adolfo brings up Cam Johnson is a better fit, but then my response to that is I think you could do better in a trade for Kaminga. He has a lot of value. Let's talk about that in the offseason. It's too soon. I want to circle back though to Brandin Podziemski real fast here, because he did have a fantastic game. He also played a lot. He led the Warriors in minutes tonight, playing 40 minutes, shot 50% from the field, shot better than 50% from deep, 6 of 11 shooting from beyond the arc, added 5 rebounds, 5 assists. The assist number is something I'm looking at very closely, because Brandin Podziemski, to me, in terms of the growth of his game as someone who is a ball handler or someone who is a facilitator, you want to see those assist numbers go up. You want to see a healthy number there. And again, that's a part of his game that could grow. 5 assists for him. I like that. I like seeing that. That's a good number. He also added 2 steals. He added a block, but the 6 of 11 shooting from deep, to me, sticks out above everything else. When you're shooting better than 50% as a 3-point shooter, that is outstanding. And especially on a night where Fred VanVleet played his best game of the series. Fred VanVleet was 8 of 12 shooting from deep. That's 67%. So Brandin Podziemski basically neutralized Fred VanVleet. That's the impression I got from his performance tonight. Desperately needed. It wasn't just Jimmy Butler who saved the day. I think Podziemski is also deserving of that level of compliment. Your reaction, Sophia, to Brandin Podziemski, whose final box score tonight, one more time, in 40 minutes of play, which led the team. Brandin Podziemski finished with 26 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, did have 2 turnovers, and surprisingly was not one of the leaders in net rating. Normally he's always like 1 or 2. Still did good, was a +7 in net rating, and just overall had an unbelievable game. Your thoughts, Sophia?
Everything that Podziemski, or every single point that he had this game, felt extremely timely. Like you mentioned, he almost matched VanVleet's threes. Every time that it seemed like the Rockets had a score, he always had the response. And the Warriors, they kind of went through some offensive droughts that he helped to bring them out of, essentially. Those 3-pointers were huge. He had a couple of clutch drives to the basket. You mentioned that assist number. Again, as one of your primary ball handlers, you want to see that playmaking ability. So that's extremely positive. And you talk about that block. That's the one that he had on Fred VanVleet at the end of the game as well, when he kind of reached up behind him and blocked that shot, which was huge to get that defensive stop, which he's not always known as a defensive stopper. So to see kind of that number as well increase is just, he had extremely clutch plays this game. And for a little bit of an off night scoring for Steph Curry, he definitely helped to pick up that load. I think you're muted.
Thank you for that. Apologies. Stephen Curry. We haven't even mentioned his name. Jesus Christ, we're already 50 minutes into the show. How did that happen? And yet this is the first time we've actually said his name, Stephen Curry. He played 39 minutes and 7 seconds. I don't know where he disappeared to. When he got the technical foul, I don't know if folks noticed this. He vanished. He went into the tunnel, into the locker room. It was gone for a little while. I have no idea what was going on there. I do think the thumb issue is bugging him a little bit still. There was a sequence of plays, and who knows if the thumb had anything to do with it or not, but the Warriors were struggling at the end of the first half. They went into the tunnel down, I believe, 49-46 at the half. Is that what the score was? No, it was bigger than that.
Felt
it was,
like more.
Yeah, but they were down by 3, I think, right? What was it? Hold on. They were down 9. They were down by 7 to the half. I apologize. Okay. I'm getting the math right now. They were down by 7 to the half, but the way the sequence of events that led to halftime included all that craziness with the Rockets and Dylan Brooks and Tari Eason and that one specific play though, where Dylan Brooks tried to snatch the ball from Stephen Curry as he's being pulled up by Draymond Green. After the refs are looking at the replays, they issued the technicals. Steph bounces for a little while. I don't know where he went. Who knows if he just had to use the bathroom. I'm always, for whatever reason, my brain's always curious about things like that. Like where did he go? What was going on there? But 17 points, just 2 of 8 shooting from deep. I thought the Rockets defense did a good job. And I brought up the first half thing, not because of Stephen Curry disappearing in a tunnel for a little while, but because he ended the first half with 3 consecutive possessions with turnovers. So it was a mixed bag for Steph. What your reaction to Stephen Curry's performance tonight?
Yeah, it's one of those things that whenever Steph is on the floor, he always makes a difference just because he draws so much attention. There's so many times when like they use him as a screener, and because defenders are so cautious to go towards him on the pop and follow him, that it leaves another man open. But those turnovers were killer, 100% at the end of the first half. And those are the types of turnovers where it's not necessarily due to the pressure of the Rockets defense. They were just kind of careless. Those are those errant passes that Steph always seems to make for some reason. But he still hit some clutch shots when he needed to. He missed that kind of one easy floater at the end of the game that could have helped to seal it a little bit more.
Yes.
But it's one of those things where, like you mentioned, him disappearing back to the locker room for a little bit. I was even wondering if it was to get his thumb retaped. That's something where he could have just been seeing the trainer or something real quick.
Yeah.
You'd never know, but it was not the typical Curry explosion game that we're so used and spoiled to see. But when you have other players around you that can kind of pick up the slack, it helps him for next game, because he usually doesn't have too many back-to-back games that are just down like this.
Rarely, if ever.
Yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely right about that. You don't see Stephen Curry going slumps. And Steph tonight, 17 points. Again, just 2 of 8 shooting from deep. 25% shooting from 3 is not normally his MO. It was a perfect 3 of 3 from the free throw line. Had 3 assists, 3 rebounds. Was a plus 12 in that rating. So the trend of the team playing winning basketball when he's out there continued. By the way, my system, please forgive me to the audience for this. My system was not showing the paid chats until just now. I don't know what was going on there. Now I see a whole bunch of them. Please forgive me for that. Charles Hutchinson dropping $1.99 just to drop $1.99. So look, thank you, Charles. We'll acknowledge your name, and there was no message attached to that, but thank you. Wainster dropping $5.99 in the chat, saying, "Hey sockets," I think that's what he's calling the Rockets. Hey sockets, I like sprockets better myself. We have Jimmy Butler, and you don't. This is why the Warriors paid Jimmy the dollars, $60 million a year, more specifically. Unbelievable. No free throws missed. He was a perfect 12 of 12. And once again, Draymond Green, Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know what Ask 28 means, but any reaction to that, Sophia?
I'm trying to know what number. If
Yeah,
like
I don't know
if
what that
number
means.
20,
I have no clue.
I can't think off the top of my head. But yeah, there's a reason Jimmy's getting paid. There is a reason that Jimmy Butler is getting paid here at Golden State.
I figured it out, by the way. Number 28 is Alperen Şengün.
I figured it was him. I just, didn't look it up and it wasn't on my stat sheet. But but yeah, and those no free throws missed were huge. On that one foul at the end of the game when he was shooting a 3-pointer, he knocked down all three, and then of course grabbing that rebound at the end and then sinking the final two to kind of put them up by 3 and put the game on ice a little bit. Every single time on TNT, Reggie Miller or Kevin Harlan were saying, "Oh, then Jimmy Butler, he's been great from the free throw line this game. He hasn't missed a single one." I was like, are you guys trying to do that on purpose? I don't know. As a broadcaster myself, I kind of like to say that stuff after the shot, and so I don't jinx it, because no one likes to be the broadcaster jinx. But no, Jimmy, he was huge, and that's the reason why the Warriors won this game 100%.
Oh, yeah. Sean McCray in the chat writing that Draymond Green lives in Şengün's head rent-free. Yeah, Draymond Green. I will never understand folks who try to engage in mental warfare with him. You have no chance in hell. OMG, it's Manny writing that Steve Kerr will not play Jimmy Butler and Jonathan Kaminga in the same unit, which is why Kaminga is not getting minutes. The Warriors should trade him and allow him to grow elsewhere. And again, topic for the offseason. We will be covering that ad nauseum, but just now is not the right time. Chardol dropping $1.99, saying hello to both of us and the thoughts on the Warriors win. That was crazy. Again, I'm getting too old for this shit. That was tough. It was a nail biter. It was a thriller. I'm just glad they won. Because if they lost, Sophia, could you imagine, like, if they lost, like how
I would be so upset coming onto this.
We were this close to that too.
We were.
I really didn't know how to prepare for tonight's show, because that game you watched.
Within like the last minute, I was gaslighting myself, and I was telling myself, I was like, oh my gosh, like make sure like when you come on this one not to be too just down and frustrated. So I was trying to gaslight myself to save a potential disappointment, but that didn't happen, which is great.
Let the jet fly dropping $1.99, saying the veterans were mad at Kaminga in game 3. He wasn't listening. What do you base that on? I don't like. Again, Sophia, I don't know how much you're monitoring this stuff. I do incessantly, and this type of verbiage permeates everywhere. It's just there is a large chunk of this fan base that just does not like Kaminga, and I will never understand it. I will never get it. People act like he literally came into their houses and hurt their families. I don't understand it, but I did not see any evidence that the veterans were unhappy with him. Did you, Sophia?
I didn't. And like we've talked about on the show before, like Draymond is a huge vet to Jonathan Kaminga as well.
Yeah.
And how they have a good relationship. If you even kind of think about players being mad at Kaminga, you saw visible frustration that they were mad at Buddy for dribbling as well. So it's kind of a lot of things that your teammates do you sometimes don't always like or agree with. That I haven't seen. While I understand there might be frustration if like one of your teammates has a turnover or puts up a bad shot, but that happens like all the time as well. Not to
Yeah,
just
and
one single
RA
player.
adds that Draymond Green, who just released a new episode of his podcast, praised Kaminga for his defense on Jalen Green. So I don't understand where that rhetoric comes from. And again, this is why Steve Kerr, I'm not very happy with him, because this is all entirely because of Kerr. This is the power that Steve Kerr has by simply DNPing a player, by simply not playing a player. You immediately get all these people who just will worship his every decision and come to the assumption that if Kerr doesn't like him, something must be wrong with him, right? That is the genesis of all this. This is where it all comes from. Like, for example, Dream Tree. Sophia, do you agree with that or no? Like, what do you?
It disappeared too fast. I couldn't read it.
Oh, well, not this. Just my opinion. I meant before I play that. Like, why do you think so many people hate Kaminga? I can't think of any other reason why there is this level of vitriol directed toward him. The only thing I could think of is Steve Kerr DNPs him, so you have a lot of people who just immediately assume what's wrong with this kid if Steve Kerr can't play him. I can't. There's nothing factual that, like, there's no evidence that shows he's a bad person. None. Except, I don't know. What do you think? Like, is there? Am I off there? Do you have anything to add to that?
I completely agree with you. I'm not sure where a lot of the animosity lies. Yeah, I'm not really sure, unless like what you said just with Steve Kerr. And I don't know, maybe some people don't like how all the events last year where he kind of called Steve Kerr out. I have no idea.
Well, and again, this was from Dream Tree Entertainment. Excuse me. Who writes that Kaminga started all this by complaining he wanted more playing time. Just for some context, it was his agent who complained. It wasn't him. And this happened, in case everyone has forgotten the whole the actual story here for what led to Kaminga's agent complaining. The Warriors blew a 20-point halftime lead to the Nuggets. And Steve Kerr at this point was clinging to the 5-man lineup that had been regressing for some time. And this 5-man lineup was Steph, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, Kevon Looney, right? Those 5, for 3 months following the championship, posted a league-leading net rating for a 5-person group, right? Then Andrew Wiggins went through all of the issues that led him to disappear. You know, his dad was a part of that. And so we all we had was that sample size of a little bit of October, November, and December of 2022, I'm sorry. And then Wiggins disappears. He comes back, just in time for the postseason. The following year, Steve Kerr's still trying to force this 5-man lineup, trying to make it work. It's not working. And the evidence of it not working was the Nuggets game. They blew a 20-point lead at the half. I think this was January 2024 is when this happened. Steve Kerr's agent comes out because Kaminga was DNP'd for the entire second half of that game. He plays a big role in the first half. Warriors take a 20-point lead. He's DNP'd for the second half. Warriors blow that 20-point lead. Jokic makes a game-winning shot to seal it for the Nuggets. And then Kaminga's agent comes out and says, why is he not playing? And that's the extent of it. And if you think he's a bad person because of that, we'll have to agree to disagree that makes someone a bad person just because their coach just doesn't respect him. Their coach doesn't view him in a high enough manner where he's going to actually give him playing time, which is the sole thing a coach has power over when it comes to a player is how often they play. And Steve Kerr was using that power to not play Jonathan Kaminga. And if you think he doesn't have a right to speak up at a point like that, we'll have to agree to disagree. But me personally, I don't think that makes him a bad person if his agent comes out one time and expresses unhappiness with playing time. And if you forgot what happened after that moment, Steve Kerr and Kaminga met. Steve Kerr, and they both discussed publicly what happened. Steve Kerr said, look, I have an open door policy. Jonathan Kaminga said, now I know he has an open door policy. And there hasn't been any issues publicly since. I don't even know if there's any issues privately that we know about. I haven't seen any reports that indicate that. So Dream Tree Entertainment. And this also goes to Dank, who accuses Jonathan Kaminga of acting like he's Tom Brady. And again, I've never seen Kaminga say or do anything to indicate he has an ego either. This is why so many people hate him, Sophia. What do you think?
Yeah, I just think it's not warranted.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's all I have to say. I just don't think it's warranted.
Do you agree with MJ, who writes that the Warriors are winning and have won without him, so they don't need him?
I think yes, the Warriors have won without him, but we are playing the Rockets right now. Next round, it's looking like it's going to be the Timberwolves. After that, most likely it would be OKC. You don't get to the final, you don't make it out of the West, and you don't have a shot in the finals if you don't have a Jonathan Kuminga on the roster in your back pocket, in my opinion.
And then, and again, now you have the assholes coming up, right? Because God forbid I actually try and defend Jonathan Kuminga. God forbid. I'm a horrible person for this, apparently, because you get people like Ren Canoe saying, shut up. Kaminga is ass. Trade him. No. And again, if you're going to be a dick like that, you're out. Plain and simple. Don't tell the host to shut up in his show. But this is consistent. All right? And again, I'm not sitting here pretending that Kaminga should be playing at this point heavy minutes. All I'm sitting here saying is I don't get the DNPs. And that's enough for all sorts of people to come out and pretend like I'm the dick here because I just feel like he's being wronged in the process. Like New Jersey writes, maybe I'm the one who's wrong about Kaminga. Why? Based on what? Because Steve Kerr said so? I am not deferential to authority figures just because someone hired them for that position. Just because Steve Kerr's the head coach of the Warriors does not mean he is right about everything. There is nothing wrong with independent thinking. There is nothing wrong with coming up with your own conclusions about things. And I don't subscribe to the idea of, oh, he's in power. I'm just going to bow down to whatever he says. We are all gifted with brains to think independently. I do think it's sad that the vast majority of the media landscape acts in deference because that's not what journalism is. Journalism, you're supposed to hold truth to power. You're supposed to actually be objective in your coverage and not just be deferential to an authority figure and pretend that their opinion is fact. So that's where I stand. And, and again, this is Dank saying, well, I guarantee. No, you can't guarantee it. You don't know shit. Everyone has opinions and assumptions. You don't know that the top players are feeding Steve Kerr intel, telling him and here's why this premise is not true. Jason Tatum was being DNP last summer. Steve Kerr this is how he rolls. He has feelings. He has strong opinions, and he's in a position of power, and he's using that position of power to penalize a young player that I don't understand why he's being penalized. But to DNP him at this stage, a player who's the third leading scorer on your team, I don't agree with it. I just don't think it's right. I don't get it. And I just don't act deferential to authority figures just because they have a job. Like, that does not mean they're right about everything. So that is my point again. And again, this is, look, Sophia, the MJ here, the excuse making for JK, like, stop pretending just because I like the kid, that makes me a bad person. You're the bad person for hating on the kid as much as you do. All right. Look in a mirror with your negative vitriol that's directed towards a person who was literally a child when he started his professional basketball career. But you're going to take the side of the man who has all the power, who's screwing this kid over, and I just don't get it. Julian Bashir is asking, donates $2, saying the Celtics have 7 guys who can get 30 points. We need Kaminga. By the way, Chris Mullen also added in the chat. I want to highlight this real quickly. And yes, Dank, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing your stupidity and your ignorance loud and clear, man. What you're saying has been said by a million people. You're not bringing anything new to the table. What you're saying is called a redundancy. But I want to highlight this thing one more time too, because Chris Mullen wrote something which is worth pointing out. And if I can't find it, I can't find it. He wrote, I can't believe we drafted Şengün over Jonathan Kuminga. I was going to respond to that saying, the Warriors drafted Moses Moody over Alperen Şengün. Side note, Larry Kruger, who's on with me every week, was advocating for Alperen Şengün. It's a shame. It's a shame that that the Warriors did not draft him, but what are you going to do? Any final thoughts, by the way, before we move on? And real quick, Sophia, and this is where Money Shift writes, nobody hates Kaminga, bull effing shit. Clearly not true. And if you think you're not, learn self-awareness. You lack it. But you're writing that you claimed we needed him in this series. If I was wrong about that, I'm a human being. Forgive me. But I will say this. I don't think they have a chance in hell if it's OKC, if it's Boston. I don't even know if they could beat Minnesota without him. I do believe firmly that if Steve Kerr decides for the entirety of the postseason that Jonathan Kaminga is deserving of a DNP, yes, I do think the Warriors are potentially sacrificing a championship to DNP him for 4 rounds. I do believe that. And if you don't agree with that, great. You're entitled to your own opinion as well. That is my opinion, and I'll leave it at that. Any final thoughts from you, Sophia? I'm sorry to cut you off so much here if I did.
Yeah, just with this game, Kuminga, he got the DNP. The Warriors scraped by, but they got the win. And they have a 3-1 lead right now. And I think against a young team, a young Rockets team that knows the history between these two franchises and just how much the Warriors have inflicted on the Houston fan base, I think that the Warriors are in a very strong position right now.
Yeah. Like Mark Medina is writing, dude, get off the Kaminga train for derails. If he was good enough, he would be good enough. And this is, again, why, no, A, I'll get off the train when I feel like it. B, he's not good enough because Steve Kerr said so. And that's my entire issue with this, is that you have one coach who's literally sabotaging this player because of his opinion on the matter. And I will push back on that, all right? Even if I'm the only person doing it, I will die on this hill, Mark. If you don't like that, I'm sorry. But I don't agree with how Kaminga has been treated, and I don't think the Warriors are winning a championship if he just is vanquished to the end of the bench for the remainder of the postseason. If you don't agree with that, that's fine. That's your right. That's how I feel. One last thing. GP2 tonight. He's another player who's a little polarizing, at least to me, because when GP2 injured his hand, Sophia, when he had that injury, I believe he tore a ligament in his shooting hand, and nobody knew how much time he was going to miss, how long he was going to be out for. And when he got injured, and Steve Kerr publicly said Jonathan Kuminga is our best defensive player, and he's going to get GP2's minutes, he's going to get GP2's role, that is when I thought everything clicked. Because that's when we saw Kaminga playing in that three-game stretch where they beat Memphis, where they beat the Lakers, where they beat the Nuggets, and he had a role, and I thought that role was awesome. And then GP2 comes back way sooner than anyone anticipated, and in that Rockets game, we suddenly saw GP2 get elevated over Kaminga in the rotation. And now we clearly know who Steve Kerr trusts and doesn't trust, which is why, again, this offseason, you're going to see one side or the other move on. I don't doubt that. Just because this thing is not working, unless the championship is won, then who knows? But the GP2 minutes, there are games where he looks amazing, right? And then there are games like tonight where you're left kind of, going, why is this guy playing and Kaminga's not? GP2 tonight, 2 points. The play, in case the play that stuck out to me was he was assigned to defend Şengün in one of the last possessions of the game, and Şengün scored on him with ease. GP2 is sometimes the rebounder, the primary rebounder for free throws at 6'2", and he barely got one of those rebounds today. I don't get it. I don't. I love him personally. I know defensively he comes through in a lot of games, and tonight included. But I also do believe this is going to bite the Warriors in the ass if we're in the Western Conference Finals and they're trying to beat OKC and GP2 is out there getting minutes over a bigger, more athletic player and they get burned in the ass. What's your take on GP2? Because, again, we all know who he is as a player, and I love him personally, but tonight, minus 13 net rating, 2 points, defensively was so, but he's still getting minutes. He's earned Kerr's trust. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, because he had the defensive assignment against Fred VanVleet this game as well. And I actually felt like when he was the primary defender against him, he did a solid job. He wasn't able to get those same shots off. But offensively, when the Warriors did kind of go into those droughts, you would prefer to have more of an offensive oriented player on the floor, like a potential Jonathan Kaminga or even Moses Moody didn't get a ton of minutes. He provides a tad more offense than GP2, but for those minutes that GP2 played, I definitely felt like he again when he was a primary defender against VanVleet, he did solid, but it's when he gets into those switches and he's guarding the bigger players like Alperen Şengün, it gets who just takes him and puts him in the basket pretty easily, then that's when, if you're going to have a defense that switches a lot, having a more balanced lineup on the floor helps.
Yeah, big time. A few more paid chats. I didn't get a chance to go through all these. Muhammad Olavi drops $1.99 saying it's a bad look for Kaminga to sit away from the team. Is he? I mean, I think he always sits at the far end. I don't know if he's doing anything different than he normally does. I do know there are a lot of stretches since he's been getting the DNPs where he goes and rides the bike. But make no mistake about it. There's no chance in hell he's happy about any of this. So, and as long as he's not speaking out publicly, causing distraction, I don't see the harm in if he's sitting at the far end. JJ Lee dropping $4.99. And Sophia, jump in at any point if you have any takes as well, saying Kaminga needs to learn GP2's rise from the bench to starting while with the Warriors and learn his offensive philosophy. Should train with him during the offseason. JJ Lee, just in case you forgot, Steph, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson wanted the Warriors to sign Avery Bradley over him before the 2021 season started. Steve Kerr did not even want to sign him on the team. He was on the verge of being the team's video coordinator before he managed to clear waivers because no other team wanted to sign him, and then the Warriors added him as their 15th piece. Side note, in 2021, for anyone who's been following my coverage dating back that far, I was one of the only people yelling for Kerr to play GP2 because he was one of the best players on that team. Times change, right? Like what happens in 2021 will likely not be the same in 2025. But my point is that I just don't know if Kaminga needs advice. Like, I don't know if like his problem is he doesn't have the right mentor in this world. I don't know. Sophia, any opinions on JJ Lee's $4.99 post?
I think if there's anyone that he might want to train with, it would probably be Jimmy Butler. Jimmy seems to be, and actually now that I think about it, Jimmy Butler, one of his primary trainers is Stan Remy down in Miami, who I've trained with in the past as well. Jonathan Kaminga has participated in a lot of those Remy runs. So that's kind of an easy connection that they could potentially develop over the offseason. But we already said we're not going to get too far into those talks.
Well, we can. There's no rules here. I'm just trying to not make things like dramatic, like I'm trying to like move on. But then you just I'm not going to ignore people just, especially with the pay chat. And again, I just don't agree with how he's being treated. Let the jet fly, $1.99 saying Butler-Hield listens to everything. Jimmy Butler says, oh, we played that already. I apologize. Another $1.99 saying Steve Kerr plays Butler-Hield because you definitely have to respect his three. Yeah, absolutely right. The spacing he provides, and he's now making them, which is insanely positive. Pete Gregory, $1.99 saying the only way Draymond Green can control a fourth quarter only Draymond Green could control a fourth quarter with 5 fouls. Yes, he did have 5 fouls going into the fourth. And I'm so glad he brought that up. I'm never going to forget that stand, that one play. I mean, the whole game was on the line, Sophia. And Draymond Green was like, bring it. And he did, and he stopped Alperen Şengün. Jimmy Butler had a great game. There's so many players on this team I have genuine love for. Julian Bashir, $2. The Celtics, we already played that. The Celtics have 7 guys who can get 30 points. The Warriors will need Kaminga at a certain point. Yeah, we shall see. Nathan J. Shaw Jr. dropping $10, saying, yeah, some people don't like Kaminga. We get it. I love Kaminga, but spending 30 to 40 minutes every show on him when he didn't even play and we won is exhausting. So many other storylines game to game. Let's have balance. Agreed. That is why I did not start the show with him. And Nathan, you have to understand that the chat was flooded with his name. Like, I'm also not going to ignore the audience if that is a hot topic, right? I mean, him getting a DNP is a huge story, side note. The Warriors barely escaping with a playoff victory while a man who's a team leader in scoring, assists, rebounding, free throw attempts, sitting there not getting minutes. That is a story. I know it's an exhausting story and you might not like it very much. I don't like it either. I really wish this wasn't a story. I wish he was playing so there wasn't even a talking point. I get it. It is exhausting. You're right. But at the same time, it's like, it is the reality of the situation. I don't know. Sophia, like, what's your advice to me? I need your advice if you don't mind. How should I move forward with this Kaminga topic? Because I'm trying to not talk about it anymore, but every time I try to, the chat's flooded either with just complete gaslighting a-holes who I feel like I have to address. A lot of people actually have sympathy for him. If you scroll back to the beginning of the chat tonight, you had a lot of people just irate that he was DNP'd, especially when he started game 3 and they won. How should I handle this, Sophia? What's your advice?
Yeah, I mean, like, I hate to spend the majority of a show talking about it when the Warriors didn't get a win tonight. But like you mentioned, it is a topic that needs coverage because it is a huge story. So I think you can touch on it, but you don't have to address every single comment.
Good point.
I think that would be my best thing. And if I
You're right.
forget what the saying is, but like, what did it say? Like yelling into the wind? I don't know. But like when people just keep running their mouth and yapping, but you don't need to listen.
And then you just have like trolls. I'm not gonna even address it. Here's the thing: if you're gonna accuse me of, if you're gonna drop the whole like you don't know ball thing, then go have a discussion with someone who you think does. You know what? That's a good call. I'll just ignore them. There we go. Okay, so that's a good idea. I'm just gonna, even though I know it's entertaining for some people, there is a line that I'm trying not to cross here. That's good advice. I'm just going to start blocking people who are just asses, like Chewy Casas. And I think that's going to help the show as well. I'm just going to start blocking fools. It'll make the show go by faster. We won't be an hour 20 in and 30 minutes is spent on just one player who didn't even play. Good call. I will from now on just hit the block button. But this is also is for any audience members who want to troll, people. You're going to be blocked. Okay. Just from now on, I will refrain from the topic. If you try to troll and gaslight and bait, you'll get blocked. That's our policy. Is that a good policy, Sophia?
Yeah, for sure. I'm the one that suggested it.
Done. Okay. All right. So we're going to move on here. So anything else from the Warriors game itself that you feel like we have not touched on that we should touch on?
Yeah, I'm trying to kind of see some of the game stats. I mean, I felt like this was also one of Houston's best offensive games this series, probably their best. Just between Şengün and Fred VanVleet, Thompson, he had a strong game as well. The only person that that had a slow night was Jalen Green, but kind of from the guys that you expect to score, they did. And so the fact that the Warriors were able to withstand all of that with not really having like Steph Curry obviously go off, I think that's also another positive indication.
Yeah, absolutely. Whoops. Yeah, absolutely right. Sorry, I was making sure I wasn't muted. And I want to play some sound. Dylan Verano, by the way, we talked about the Trace Jackson Davis minutes at the beginning of the show. It was good to see him. Again, he missed a dunk, which was unfortunate. Right? Am my memory serving?
I'm pretty
correct?
sure.
Do you remember that
yeah.
game?
Or Yeah, I feel like I remember Steven Adams in so many of those just
He had a
defensive
great game.
plays.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Steven Adams had a great game. And then this is also a very fair point. And this is where I can't resist at least highlighting this, even though I just said we're moving on. But whoops, not Damian LaRoche, who I love. No. Hold on. Where'd it go? Here it is. Damon Barbie writes, I just don't enjoy the wins as much because of the way Kaminga's treated. And I guess that's a part of it too. I have a hard time just letting it go because it just feels wrong. It feels very wrong. And this is where my empathetic side, I guess, is kicking out a little bit. All right, I'll move on now. I do want to play some sound though, because we do have a couple sound bites. And Jimmy Butler, it has finally been sitting at the interview desk to address the media. And let's hear from him. Let's get a couple sound bites here. This is Sam Gordon of the San Francisco Chronicle, who posted this. Turn the volume up on your devices, please, if you want to hear what Jimmy Butler has to say. But here is Jimmy talking about the pain he was experiencing and dealing with in tonight's game. Hold on real quick. I got to block someone here. Strictly Christo. Again, this is a new policy. No more hating on Kaminga. You're out. Okay. Oh, we got to get no stripper club music yet. Hold on, because we got to hear some sound first. And I don't call that strip club music either. It's just music. But here is Jimmy Butler talking about the pain threshold that he had to deal with. And again, new policy. All right. Hate on Kaminga in the chat. You're blocked. That's the only way. If you don't want me to talk about it, you don't talk about it either. So that is a new policy we're enacting here. And here is Jimmy Butler. Again, this is courtesy of Sam Gordon of the San Francisco Chronicle posting this clip. And Jimmy was clearly in pain tonight, yet still played 40 minutes. And here is Butler.
What were the past, 4 or 5 days like for you just after the fall? And how close did you feel on Saturday? What was the ultimate difference the last couple of days?
A lot of pain. I'm not gonna lie to you. My dog Armando has been working every minute and hour off of the hour to make sure that I was able to play. He's been doing it since I went down. The training staff here has been incredible. My teammates incredible and making sure that I was okay, checking in on me. And then, today I woke up and I was good enough, so I was able to go out there and compete.
Kerr said that if this was the regular season, he might maybe out for a week or more. Is that essentially true? And
yeah, I would like to think so. I'm not going to say that I'm not hurting, but it's a good pain whenever it's all towards winning. I feel like they got me here to help do something special, and if I'm out there on the floor, I'm expected to produce and help win. So I'm glad that I was able to do that tonight.
There's Jimmy Butler. Again, incredible pain threshold. Sophia, your reaction? If any.
Yeah, just you could immediately see in the game also that he wasn't really moving the same. So just his ability to impact the game in so many different ways and kind of adjust to how his body was feeling and push through is just a testament to how tough of a player this guy is. That's just, yeah. Because I know he's not lying when he says like it's a lot of pain, and just even I think it was in the fourth quarter he kind of came up hobbling, limping a lot then as well. So he was definitely battling through a lot of stuff, but it was good enough to get the Warriors this win.
Absolutely. Here is another soundbite. Jimmy Butler. This is all going to be Jimmy, and rightfully so. This was Jimmy Butler talking about Dillon Brooks, and they had a little back and forth. They were both resting up, getting ready to resume play following some free throws, and you saw Dillon and Jimmy with the little exchange there. And this is Jimmy expanding on that. Anthony Slater of The Athletic provided this soundbite. Let's hear from Jimmy Butler again. This was him talking about I don't even know what the right adjective is to describe Dillon Brooks, but he's something else. Here is Jimmy Butler.
You gain confidence, people start talking to you, and then, good things happen.
You've said people start talking to you. You're talking about Dylan Brooks.
Yeah.
Anything you want to share that he said?
I mean, I like it. I think we all like when people start chirping. It's been this way this entire series. I don't think it's going to change. And we're going to go out there, we can compete.
You and Dylan got into it. It looked like you guys were having fun. I took it back to the playground almost. It looked like. What was it like out there? And it looked like you guys were like going back and forth. Did you enjoy that element of the game?
No, we're not having fun. Give me a break for this. I don't like Dylan Brooks, so we're never having fun. I'm a fierce competitor. He's a fierce competitor, but there ain't nothing fun about that.
So when you look at some of the pictures, I'm looking at the pictures, and it looked like he was trying to have fun, but you weren't going for it.
No, I'm not going for that. I don't think anybody is trying to be friends with anybody on either team. That's for sure. Fun is winning. Fun is competing. And it's going to be fun whenever we get forward.
All right. Sophia, what's your take on Dylan Brooks? He's a character.
He is, and that's kind of another one of those things where he has his shtick, and his thing is to just be that pest agitator, play defense, or play really aggressive, hard defense. He's actually been offensively efficient this series so far, so kind of have to give him props for that. But he's made a living out of being the bad guy and being the villain, and he's making millions off of it. And he's clearly extremely important to this Houston Rockets team. When a lot of Golden State fans were first introduced to him on the Memphis Grizzlies, he was that same guy. And so he's just, I mean, it's hard for me to say too much about someone when at the end of the day, like they're contributing to winning. He, not in this series and not in this game, but I guess you could say in the course of this season, Dylan Brooks has contributed to winning, and it seems like his personality is really what the entire Rockets team adopted as well.
Yeah, he's embraced that villain role and then some. And like you said, he's making bank. $20 million a year is what the Rockets pay that man. And he's not a bad basketball player either. I don't know if he's as good as the persona he's developed, but what he does out there is insane. One last clip I want to play, and then we're done with the soundbite, and we'll start wrapping up the show. We'll play the music and go over the rest of the postseason, the other games, because this series ain't the only one going on in the NBA right now. But this final soundbite is going to be short and sweet. Turn up the volume again. And because Anthony Slater, when he posts clips, the volume is very low. And here is Jimmy Butler talking about his good friend, Butler-Hield. Usually you get some good frivolities from this. And let's hear what Jimmy has to say about his teammate, his friend, Buddy.
I hate to give Buddy a compliment, so I'm not going to. But number 7 on our team really brought the defensive mentality tonight, made some big shots. And he stinks. I just get that.
Steve.
Dude, I love these guys. I love them. By the way, I always think of this as well too. I don't know if your mind goes to this moment, but Kawhi Leonard will not do press conferences with or do any kind of interview with a Gatorade bottle sitting there. And I don't know if it's a sponsorship thing. He's once said that Gatorade's bad for you, and I think it's because of all the sugar in it. I don't know if you have a take on that as well, but ever since then, I always think of that when I see players up there with the Gatorade bottle, because Kawhi Leonard will either put it on the ground, will just knock it off the table. Any final thoughts on Jimmy and Buddy and Gatorade?
I'll start with Jimmy and Buddy first, I guess. I mean, for him to give that praise for as elite of a defender that Jimmy is, and just kind of drawing attention to the defense that Buddy played this game as well, that's a huge compliment. Even if he did it in his own little fun way, it's still a huge compliment. And the fact that those two still kind of have that camaraderie and their joke going, that's awesome to see. And for Gatorade, it does have a lot of sugar. If I drink it, I actually drink Gatorade Zero sometimes.
Ooh.
But yeah, it has 0 sugar.
But does it have the other bad stuff in it? Because if it's usually when I see something that says 0 sugar, I'm even more ardent about staying away from it, because that usually means they're putting like the fake sweeteners in it, like aspartame or something similar to that. And that tricks your body to produce more sugar than you would consume with a sugar drink. I don't know if you folks are aware of that or if you care about your health, but it's a huge reason why when I see Diet Coke drinkers, for example, I kind of cringe, because you're actually, if your goal is to lose weight, you're going to have a harder time doing so with the diet drinks than with the regular stuff. Again, because with the diet drinks, your body reacts to the fake sugar by producing real sugar. And then it's not good for you. I don't know if you knew any of that stuff or
I didn't. So I guess for anyone, if they ever just need electrolytes, I would just go with coconut water then. But yeah, just awesome to see Jimmy smiling and cracking jokes.
Yeah, and a couple people, Ryan, or maybe one person, Ryan23000, saying that is a theory, that is not a fact. I thought that was actually proven, but you also might be right as well. But yeah, and RA writes sugar is not great because it causes inflammation. Sugar is a carcinogen. It's awful for you. I am not sitting here endorsing sugar consumption. What I am saying, and again, someone in the chat said that it's a theory, that what I'm saying is not factually proven, but at least what I've always known is that if you're facing a choice between the two, the real stuff's better than the fake stuff because of what it does to your body. But I digress, and I'm not talking. And yes, JJ Lee, I do mean insulin, not blood sugar. I was generally speaking. All right, so I don't know where Chardal is. A couple people in the chat want to know where one of our most ardent, speaking of that word, audience members is tonight. I have no clue. But regardless, no Chardal. What we do have is a post-season checkup. And have you been following the other series in the postseason?
Yes.
What's been sticking out to you? What's your favorite series besides Warriors Rockets?
I don't know if it's kind of like the hater in me, but I do love the fact that the Timberwolves are up 3-1 versus the Lakers right now. And I'm a huge fan of Anthony Edwards and his game as well. I love seeing that competitiveness. So love that. Clippers Nuggets has been really fun to watch as well. That might be the longest running series. The Heat got smacked tonight. That was insane, crazy. So yeah, that's kind of my take on some of the other series happening right now.
And Abraham DeLeon, I don't know where you've been all night. I feel like Abraham DeLeon would be the loudest chat member, because it was some months ago where he boldly proclaimed that Butler-Hield was going to be a difference maker in this postseason. Abraham DeLeon is someone whose opinions I have never found myself disagreeing with until he said that a month or two ago. And this is an example of me not being perfect. I've never once said I am. I've never once said I'm Nostradamus. I can be wrong like anyone else. And that is case. So bravo to you. And Abraham DeLeon adding that Clippers Nuggets is incredible. Did you see that buzzer beater, Aaron Gordon? The first buzzer beating dunk in NBA postseason history. Insane.
Yeah, I actually think because that game was ending as the Warriors one was starting 2 days ago on Saturday. So I was watching that on my phone, and since the picture was so small, I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? Couldn't hear the announcers, but it was crazy.
It was insane. And that series is now a best of 3. And I'm personally elated that the Warriors Rockets is not now a best of 3. If the Warriors had lost this game, Sophia, I would have been very worried about them. Like and again, this is how close it is. And this is also, not also, but this is like, this could have easily with just 1 or 2 possessions going a different way, could have been a 2-2 series. This would have been a different show. This would have been a different mood, totally different talking points, totally different reality that we're all living in, if not for the fact that 1 or 2 possessions just went a different way. And so as a result of that, the Warriors are now up 3-1, whereas the Nuggets and the Clippers are tied 2-2. OKC is resting and relaxing in the process, waiting to see who's going to be the winner of that series, which, again, is some damn good stuff. The top seeds in both sides have moved on. They swept the lower seeds, as you mentioned. Miami, side note, I mean, impressive they even got to this point as a 10 seed, winning both their playing games to get into the playoffs. And they did push Cleveland in that first game, or the second game. One of those was kind of close. So anyway, so Cleveland has moved on. OKC has moved on. They sit there and wait. The Warriors have a 3-1 series lead over the Rockets. In the East, the 2-seeded Celtics have a 3-1 series lead over the Magic. Will Game 5 be the last game in that series, in your opinion?
Yes. I think the Magic, they've been close too many times where I just don't know if they have another push in them being down 3-1. I think you're muted.
I was. Even I caught myself there. Sorry. I like this question, Sophia, and I don't know if you're going to agree with me on this or not, but I like these really strict basketball questions. And case in point, Boris Schusterman in the chat is asking what our thoughts are of the Warriors not fouling at the end. And I'm actually really stoked that he asked this, because I was thinking the exact same thing. The Warriors were leading 109-106, and the Rockets were out of timeout. So when they inbounded the ball after Jimmy Butler made both the free throws at the end there, my thought was commit a foul. I mean, I was thinking that too. Now, the risk of it, I feel like the biggest risk for the committing a foul when you're up 3 philosophy is that they go into a shooting motion and then the referees reward them with 3 free throws, which you don't want. That's the biggest obstacle. But at the same time, if you plan for it and you foul like right away and you make sure you do it in a manner where they're clearly not shooting, goes without saying that's the logical way to go. I don't know if the college game feels the same way. I don't know what your school of thought is with this, but yeah, I was a little disappointed that the Warriors did not foul in that situation. A year ago, was it earlier this year? Was it this year when the Warriors lost to the Thunder on the Chet Holmgren 3 at the end? Was that? I can't remember if that was this year or last year, but anyways, that was a situation where the Warriors should have fouled, burned them hard because they did not. That Fred VanVleet 3 tonight looked good. I mean, it was short. You and I talked about that at the very beginning of the show. The direction was aligned perfectly, but it was short. So, yeah, I do wish they did foul. I do subscribe to the theory that fouling a player when you're up 3 is the prudent way to go. They didn't do that, and they still won. But so, that's how that went. What's your thought on it? Because I do agree that if you feel you should foul in that situation, I agree with you. What is your thought on that whole scenario?
Yeah, to me, the fact that since the Rockets had no timeouts, even the fact that they didn't get the chance to advance the ball, they were essentially going full court. I didn't hate it not fouling, just because it was a heave, that last shot. Normally I am a fan of the foul. You just have to make sure that you do it in just not even anything close to a shooting motion. I thought that they were going to foul also. I believe there were also 4 seconds left when the Rockets were down 3 and they were inbounding the ball and going full court. That also is a lot of time left to me, just because you don't want to keep going back and forth at that point as well. I think maybe even if you shave 2 seconds off the clock, then foul, that's the route that I would have gone. But at that time, Fred VanVleet, he had pretty much already gone past half court, so then I think it was too risky. But like if I was a coach, I would have said, okay, give him like a second or two after they get the ball inbounded and then foul. Just because I don't like when there's a lot of time left on the clock still.
That's fair. I would agree with you if Houston had timeouts left, but the fact that they were out of them, the 4 seconds, I would have still fouled because although again, you know what? Here's the other part of it too. I didn't think of until just now. The Warriors are not a great rebounding team, even though the numbers say otherwise. But you look at them on a basketball court, and they're small. I don't see a lot of other teams getting beat for offensive rebounds on missed free throws. Yeah, that's what's happening with the Warriors. So maybe that's going into the thought process as well. But it's a good topic. I like it, and the chat actually has a lot of split opinions on it. Also, the chat remembers clearly about that play, and it was last year when Chet Holmgren put that 3 up over Andrew Wiggins, and that still pisses me off. Aim Assist in the chat is asking what our thoughts are on a potential Western Conference semifinal matchup with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I've said before, and now I believe it much more so than when I said it back then, but the Lakers, I feel like, would have been a great matchup for the Warriors. They're slow, they're small, I feel like it would have been favorable. Minnesota, to me, represents a tougher out for the Warriors than LA. Deeper team, way too many nightmarish memories of Naz Reid hitting a lot of big shots against the Warriors. I don't like the idea of Anthony Edwards being on the other side. But with all that said, the Warriors did beat Minnesota 3 out of 4 times this season. And if they play Kaminga, I do think it would be a million times easier for them to win the series than without him. But so I think they win regardless. Like, I think with or without Kaminga, the path is set for them to make the Western Conference Finals. I really believe that. But without Kaminga, I think that's where it stops. I don't see how you can beat OKC without the athleticism and size. And when it comes to the next round, I think Minnesota is going to be a harder out than LA, but we shall see. Your thoughts on Minnesota and the Lakers, if we're on that topic?
I find it a very full circle moment that a lot of Minnesota's game plan and why we're seeing Jaden McDaniels have really good games is because they are attacking Luka. And Nico Harrison said defense wins championships. So I think it's a little bit of a full circle moment.
Kyle McKiernan asks a great question, which is, I want to understand what is small in the NBA. Fantastic question. And he asks, is 6'5" small? And I'll say no to that because Draymond Green, some listings place him at 6'5". I think more realistically is 6'6", but I've seen some measurements list him as 6'5". To me, 6'3" or below is represents small. I think 6'4" and above, you're no longer like the Hobbit. You're no longer like the member of the Lollipop Guild. Buddy Hield is 6'4", to give you some perspective. Stephen Curry is 6'3". And that's where to me, that's where the line is. I don't know. Very subjective answer. I don't know if you can give an objective answer to this. In your opinion, Sophia, what constitutes small versus not small in the NBA?
I would say it's right about there. And I wouldn't even... Yeah, it would be right about at like the 6'3" mark when you consider Steph, how he's just kind of slightly undersized point guard size at his stage. Right around 6'3" and below.
And let's see if there's anything else you need to answer. Nope. Okay. And do you think the Lakers still have a shot?
No. I don't think they'll be able to come back from 3-1. I know. I don't think they'll be able to.
Yeah, they're not going to have. I love the jokes, by the way. Stephen A. Smith, I think today dropped, and he's all testy with LeBron now after that incident, right? So he's like the gloves are off, right? Like he'll totally throw shade at LeBron every opportunity he can get. And today he dropped the whole stimulus package that the NBA awarded him. in 2016 with the Draymond Green Game 5 suspension. Because I think the topic of this on First Take was 3-1 comebacks. Like LeBron finds himself down 3-1 again, which has happened to him, I think, like 4 or 5 times in his career, maybe 6. And one of those times, infamously, was the 2016 NBA Finals when the Warriors were up 3-1. Draymond Green gets suspended for Game 5, shifts the entire momentum. And if you get a chance to watch that clip, I think I retweeted it or reposted it on one of my social media accounts. But to see Brian Windhorst's reaction to that is gold, because Wendy's like, oh, come on. And it just got into a whole thing. I personally believe vehemently that was a stimulus package, because momentum is a very real thing in sports. And that one game shifted the whole thing. Do you agree with that? Or what's your take? I don't know if everyone has that, or if you've ever mentioned this publicly on the program. What is your take on nearly 10 years ago now, when the NBA infamously, sorry to use that word redundantly, suspended Draymond Green in Game 5 of the NBA Finals? What's your take on that moment?
Yeah, I 1,000% agree. Just the fact that you're taking, because that's really when Draymond was in his Defensive Player of the Year form, like peak Draymond. Yeah. And so you're taking that factor out the series for a game. I 1,000% agree. It completely changed the momentum, and it didn't even feel like he was quite the same when he came back. I think my dad might have told me that Charles Barkley also mentioned something along those lines as well on Inside the NBA, where maybe Adam Silver will step in and suspend someone on the Timberwolves. But yeah, so I'm kind of, as a little bit of a salty Warriors fan, I am glad that narrative is still being passed around.
Hell yeah. It's such a what if moment, because if that doesn't happen, the Warriors win the championship. They now have back-to-back titles. They're not getting Kevin Durant. Harrison Barnes is probably stays with the team. I highly doubt they three-peat, but you also never know. It's such a huge what if. I'm such a shame. Julian Bashir adding that Jimmy Butler is a legit 6'7", agreed. And Kyle McKiernan, who asked that question, is saying you're 6'2". Damn, I have no chance. I don't want to hear any self-pity or pity from you. If you're 6'2", be grateful and then some. All right. If you're 6'10", if you're 6 feet even or above, be grateful. Okay, there are plenty of people far shorter than 6'2" who are probably just angry at you for saying something like that. I'm 5'10" and I'm grateful to be average height, because it could be worse, right? But if I was 6'2", I'd probably own the world right now. Like you are blessed to be 6'2". Enjoy that. You're fine. You still have a shot to even be an NBA player, I think. Julian Bashir's 6'3". Sophia, how tall are you? Do you mind if I ask?
I'm 5'6". I wish I was 6'2" also. Yeah.
All right. And we'll finish the show on this note. Actually, real quick, what's your prediction for the final 3 games between the Clippers and the Nuggets? Do you have a prediction?
I think, because the last game, the Nuggets were up by like 20, and the Clippers had a very furious comeback.
In the fourth
and then
quarter,
obviously, everyone knows how the game ended. That can be difficult to bounce back from. I can maybe see, because it's set 2-2. I'm trying to think. I think the Nuggets will either win in 6 or 7.
Let me follow up with this question. Who do you think would pose a more difficult challenge to OKC in the next round? Because whatever that answer is, that's who I want to win.
I couldn't even tell you. I think, because when you think about the Nuggets, they have the championship pedigree, but also there's that instability because they fired their coach right before the playoffs. But you also look at the Clippers, and they have some really great pieces, and Kawhi has been playing out of his mind recently. I could see him locking up SGA And then James Harden, he could finally be ready for that ring after getting blocked by the Warriors for so many years. I'm not sure. I really am not. I think I wish I had a record on how those teams matched up in the regular season, but I honestly think the Clippers might be a little bit more difficult for the OKC.
That's my answer too, but by like a smidge. And the main reason for me is depth. The Clippers are just a deeper team. Like that is a clear weakness for the Denver Nuggets. They do not have a bench. And the fact that they pulled that last game off without Westbrook, even more impressive. But I want to see Kawhi Leonard at the peak of his powers, like we're seeing right now, take on OKC. I could see an upset. I could see the Clippers beating OKC in the next round. There's going to be if the Clippers advance, and I can't say the same thing for the Nuggets. Like I think if it's Denver, OKC takes care of that series in 6 games. If it's Thunder, Clippers, my prediction, 7 games, who the hell knows where that goes. And I actually believe the exact same thing for the other side of the coin in the East, where the Cavaliers are likely going to play the Indiana Pacers next round. Do not sleep on Indiana. Those are going to be very entertaining second round series, and do not be surprised, as crazy as this may sound, if both number 1 seeds are knocked out in round 2. Just be ready for that, because the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard, when we talk about what ifs, right? I get brought up the fact, like what if the Warriors, if Draymond's not suspended in Game 5 and the Warriors take care of business. Flip, another what if. Kawhi Leonard stays healthy for most of his life. Like, how many titles does that guy win? He has 2 on his resume now. Could be 4, could be 5, and again, and going back to the Kaminga thing, that's a team, the Clippers, who I don't think the Warriors have a shot without Kaminga, because Kawhi Leonard is a big dude. He's much bigger than people give him credit for. And when the Warriors lost that game to the Clippers in the season finale at home, Jimmy Butler had difficulties guarding Kawhi Leonard. Like, that was a matchup. It was a very exciting matchup. And we're wrapping up here, I promise you. I know we've gone long here tonight. But Kawhi Leonard did not seem bothered by Jimmy Butler. And Draymond Green's always had some difficulties defending Kawhi Leonard. Like, I'm the Clippers fascinate me, is what I'm trying to say. I think Kawhi Leonard is such a good basketball player, grossly underrated, largely because of all the injuries. We shall see. Do you Clippers Pacers, any chance of an upset from your perspective?
After just seeing the way that the Cavs handled business against the Heat this whole series, obviously Miami isn't how their usual status is, but they're still not a scrub team. I don't know if I'd want to play the Cavs. I don't think there would be an upset in that series.
I hear you.
It will definitely go. It'll be a 6-7 game series, but I don't think it'll be an upset.
And the last question, and you're done, Sophia, I promise. I know we're going long here. Look, we're in the playoffs. These are going to be long shows, folks. And Sophia, I appreciate you. I really do. You have no idea, or maybe you do. I don't know, but I value you and then some. You have a brilliant mind, and you're a good person, a great person. We'll finish the show on this topic. Warriors Rockets Game 5, and this actually will give me a chance to give love to our another sponsor, and that is MyBookie. Let me do this real quick here. Even this late in the show, we can fit in some sponsors. It's crunch time on the court, and the NBA playoffs are your chance to score big. Whether you're riding with favorites or cheering for the underdog, excuse me, every three-pointer, dunk, and buzzer beater is an opportunity to win at MyBookie. And if you're new to MyBookie, sign up today with the promo code MM50. That's M as in Mary, 50, MM50, and instantly boost your first deposit by 50%. So if you deposit $100, you'll get a $50 bonus. Deposit $500, you'll get a $250 bonus. Just make sure you use the promo code MM50. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. And courtesy of MyBookie, I'm going to go to right now for the line on Warriors-Rockets Game 5. Yes, it's going to be back in Houston because the Rockets are the 2 seed in this series and they have home court advantage. While I try to find that line if it's available, the website is going slow at the moment. Sophia, what are you anticipating? Are the Warriors going to finish it? Will there be a Game 6 back in San Francisco? Game 5, side note, will be Wednesday night again in Houston. Larry Kruger is going to join me for a panel show. Your prediction, what do you expect in Game 5?
I think the Warriors can get it done. I think this game was Houston's shot. Just how I mentioned, the way that they played offensively, really kind of their only Achilles heel was their free throws, which, I mean, I feel like at this point, their free throw shooting is just abysmal. I think that the Warriors can get it done in Houston. They'll want to end this series and get some rest.
Is that a strong prediction, or is that just a guess, but you have no clue what's going to happen?
That's a strong prediction.
Ooh, I like that. If you had to guess the line, which is what I'm going to ask you to do right now, who do you think is favored and by how much?
I would say Warriors by 4.
Ooh, all right. Well, courtesy of MyBookie, the Warriors are 3.5-point underdogs. The OU, the over-under is 205, meaning the bookies are anticipating another low-scoring affair between these two teams. So that's how this series has gone. But the Warriors being underdogs, I'm guessing maybe surprises you a little bit, Sophia. And here's the advice I give to every bettor out there in a situation like this, because one of the first pieces of advice I give to anyone who likes to bet on sports is guess the line in your head, right? Like in your mind, predict what do you think that the bookies are going to set the spread as? And if your prediction is way off from what the bookies have laid, that means you need to bet some money. And what I mean by more specifically by that is you think the Warriors are going to win, but they're actually underdogs. So in a position like yours, Sophia, you would want to put money down on the Warriors and what's called the money line. The money line for this game is plus 136. What that means is if you bet the Warriors and the money line, you're betting on the Warriors to win this game flat out, no spreads involved. And if the Warriors win, that plus 136 means if you bet $100, you get back $136. So the odds are in your favor. You can also bet on the Warriors plus 3.5, meaning the Warriors can lose by 3, but you'd still win the bet. But you just said you think the Warriors are going to win by 3 points. So in a situation like that, you take the Warriors, you take the money line, and you go home with more money in your pocket and you're happy. Does that make sense?
It does. Okay. It does, yeah.
So Warriors money line. There you go.
Awesome.
Good stuff. Any final thoughts? Anything else you want to add before we go? Anything we forgot to mention? Rockets free throw shooting, by the way. We did not touch on that, but you briefly mentioned it, and I have to actually read the stat because the Rockets have been awful at the free throw line this series. And in tonight's game, the Golden State Warriors were 20 for 22 from the free throw line. Just 2 missed free throws. Quinn Post had one of those misses. Brandin Podziemski had the other miss. The Houston Rockets were 19 of 31 from the free throw line, making just 61.3% of their free throws. Something tells me Ime Udoka was losing his shit on his team because of that. Because you miss 12 free throws, you lose by 3. That hurts. Any final thoughts, sir? Yes. Sorry.
No, just a win is a win. It wasn't very pretty, but the Warriors have a comfy 3-1 lead. Jimmy is back. He's not all the way healthy, but hopefully he gets more rest and recovery and is good to go to close out the series on Wednesday.
Beautiful. Well, we shall see. And we'll be here again. Larry Kruger, we're going to get the whole panel for the show Wednesday night. This is comedy. I don't know what happened to Chardal. He did have a financial donation early in the program, and then he poofed on us. He vanished. G in the chat going, Chardal as a Beetlejuice joke. Beetlejuice. But no Chardal. Still nothing here. We tried. I tried. Funny stuff. Sophia, you rule. I know one last thing. I'm so sorry. I know you want to go. Jacob Pinney, though, asks real fast a Valkyries question. I'm really glad, actually, Jay wrote this so that we can actually squeeze something Valkyries in here. How come their first-round draft pick was not at day one practice? Sophia?
Yeah, so I haven't heard too many updates, but I think just because she's been international and doing that, just kind of waiting to officially get released, technically.
Okay, so this is not a situation where she was told that the head coach of the Valkyries looks at her the way Steve Kerr looks at Jonathan Kaminga. This is not a situation like that?
No. Okay,
all right, that's good. All right, we're relieved. All right, we are good. You rule. Thank you. Sophia Jones, thank you to the audience. I like the new policy we have in place. I like that. We have we're regulating a little bit so that the subject matter can stay on track here. Sophia, you are incredible. Thank you as always. Thank you to the audience. The Warriors take a 3-1 series lead. We will be off tomorrow. I gotta do some medical stuff. We'll be back at this Wednesday. Warriors and Rockets, Game 5. Larry Kruger and the whole panel will be joining me. Should be fun. And I'll leave it with this. The Warriors do make things interesting, and they've been making things interesting for 10 years and counting, actually 11. The dynasty is now in year 11, which is absolutely insane in my book. But they do make things interesting, and so I thank them for that. And are we good? Are we done, Sophia?
I think so.
All right, beautiful. I'll see you next week. Thank you to everyone.